All right, boys, so we are out here in Mexico City, and we just closed on our 7th rental unit, making our portfolio well over $1 million, 20 years old. And I just want to give like a raw, authentic viewpoint of literally this entire thing happening. When last time I was in Mexico City, right, which was, I believe, right around November, September time, we didn't even have our first unit. Like, I was literally walking down, and I show you over there, that street when I sent my boy Alex the first wire. And then that was me sending him the one so that he could go and do catch close. And then I was literally walking, my phone was about to die. I have everything fucking documented. It's crazy, man. And the reason why I'm making this video is because a lot of people come to me and say, hey, you know what, like, how do you feel about doing this at a young age? You know, does it feel different? Do you feel like you're a completely different person? And to be honest with you, I feel the exact same. And that was probably the most underwhelming moment, even though, like I said, I have to still go and see the unit, you know, once I come back from Mexico. I said in my short form videos. But the thing about it is that, like, even though after I do that and we have that, you know, good, cool little 30 minutes, hour filming content, you have the celebration, yada yada, with the agent, I'm still the same person. Like, I don't know where this is like conception that you're gonna be like completely changed. I believe that jumping into this entire thing, I thought that I was gonna become a completely different person in regards to getting those different levels of, like, you know, success or whatever. But I believe just staying true to yourself allows this whole thing to be completely possible. But if I could speak about my prior self about this entire thing, I don't believe I would have changed a single thing. Like, if you guys know my story, which I documented, I basically bought a mentorship program, spent $5,000, only had like 10 grand liquid in my account, used basically business credit. And that's how we went from 0 to 7 rental units, $1 million portfolio within less than 6 months, using none of our own money. That whole process is something that I thought necessarily wasn't possible, because basically buying a house on a credit card seems crazy. Like, it seems like it's not realistic. But I've realized in this game that you're gonna have to get creative, like insanely creative. You have to get creative. You're gonna have to potentially max out credit cards on the business side. You're gonna have to fucking be in a position where you don't know if you're gonna be able to survive for the next 2 weeks, week. Like, you're that's taking it day by day, and every day just feels like you're just getting raspy. People have asked me also, like, how do you feel knowing, you know, that you're in this position, right? And, you know, the 20-year-olds are they're fucking around and all of the above. But for someone that's 20 years old watching this, you think, oh, well, I'm so far behind in that regard. You should only see this as something that's going to motivate you. People will say, oh, comparison's a thief of joy, but I honestly don't really agree with that. I think it's comparison is something that is only a matter of perspective, and a matter of not only perspective, but perception of your situation, and understanding that, yeah, this may be someone that's way ahead of me, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible, right? I believe when people say comparison to thief of joy is because they look at it with the wrong matter. And just so people are in a position where they're like, oh, you know, I don't know if you're bullshitting, whatever the above. I'll show it right here. This is literally the lender saying, hey, you know what, congrats, the loan is funded. We'll go to the agent saying, congratulations, you guys are now recorded and it's closed. But I think the next goal for us, obviously, we're going from zero to 7 figures in less than 6 months, starting with little to no money, just being very creative with it, using business credit, not having any partners, we didn't raise any capital, is the next goal for us is obviously get to 8 figures. But I think the biggest thing that's going to hold us back from that is honestly being in a position where I'm not necessarily sure how we're going to get there, because I believe that the whole idea of getting from 0 to 7 figures initially was just a matter of just brute force and just obviously taking action in that regard to the fullest, right? But from 7 to 8 figures would be a completely fucking different story. And I don't see that it's something that we necessarily cannot do, but I know that it's going to be a completely different tale. But I know that it's completely possible. Maybe I don't know the exact timeline. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know how much work it's going to take, but I know it's possible. And the thing about stepping into places like this, especially over here in Mexico City, and obviously being in a position where, yeah, soy mexicano y todo, but actually being here, you realize that you're so much fucking more grateful than you're in such a better position than you actually think that you are. I was in a position where I thought the whole world was gonna fall on top of me when we were taking that risk to do the whole, section investing, then moving to getting to University of California for appreciation reasons, and the realest spill I could give about that is that you're more blessed than you actually think. Like, you're way more blessed than you actually think. Like, me giving, buying stuff from the little homies over here that are like 10 years old selling stuff, fucking even younger than that, makes you realize how blessed you are to have the opportunity. And I've always said this on all my pages. You say I've always said the blessing is in the opportunity. It is always an opportunity, not necessarily in the end result that you receive, not necessarily in the feeling you get. It's always in just the opportunity to have it, because these people would die to have this opportunity. And if you look at my page as well, there's a lot of people that said, hey, you know what, like, why don't you feel grateful to be here and wave both flags? If you look at my TikToks, right, when I talk about the political stuff, but who's to say that I'm not? Like, I've always been grateful to be from both parts. Obviously, with me being Mexicano and being in a position where I've seen firsthand true definitions of work ethic, you're in a position where, one, you realize that work ethic is essential, but two, applying it to the right vehicle, which is what I've obviously been doing here, obviously in the United States. And it's just ironic when people see someone doing well for their age and they think that just because they want to advocate about something that, is bigger than themselves, that isn't necessarily them riding the wave, that, they're ungrateful or they hate the country, they should go back. And I just don't rock with that. And I know we're a little bit of a tangent, but all of this stuff falls in a line, man. A lot of the biggest things that have helped me get into this position from 0 to seven figures in 6 months is understanding politics, understanding the way that people move in that accordance, understanding why people move in favor of others because of that political stance. And I don't think I would restart this any other way. I know that this is a video where I'm not at the property yet. I know it's a little bit of a random spiel, but there's just a bunch of thoughts that have gone through my mind, and I always want to keep it raw, real talk with you guys, because you're always going to feel scared. You're always going to feel like nothing's going to work out. You're always going to feel like you're not qualified enough, and there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that's wrong with that is letting it intimidate you to a point where you take absolutely no action. And I'll be the first one to tell you, once you start accomplishing things like this, you become almost immune to it. It just feels like another day. I know, like I said, when we see the unit, it'll be all crazy, but after that, right now I'm just focused on the next unit, and I'm focused on getting someone into this fourth unit off the fourplex, so it could be cash flowing completely. But I think that right now, why this video is so important to me in regards to documenting my raw thoughts, is that these thoughts are always going to change. I could look back at this 6-12 months from now and be completely right and still agree with myself, or I could be completely wrong and be like, why the hell was I thinking that? I'm doing this purely for documentation of obviously me being in a position where these accomplishments are happening without having any rich parents, anything along those lines. And if I could give one last piece of advice to myself, 6 months ago when we jumped this whole journey, is that one, it's gonna take longer than you think. Two, it's gonna be harder than you think. Alongside that, it's gonna take more energy than you think. But there's nothing wrong with that. That is the reason why most people are obviously failing and they're not in a position where you want to be. So I have about maybe 10 more days, probably like 12 more days over here in Mexico City. I'm just gonna try and soak it all in. I'll be in a position where, I'm just focused on being present in the moment. But as soon as I get back, it's just straight to work. Right now, obviously, just recording content. There's so many fucking people over here literally just looking at me, but that's why I feel like embarrassment's a choice, bro. People really don't give a fuck if you don't give a fuck. So, yeah, 7 figures at 20 years old. I'll make a video about that. Once we make a video on site when we actually go to the property. But yeah, I appreciate you guys following this journey. If there's any questions, anything you guys want from me, need from me, just let me know. Leave it in the comments. I'm going to keep it true, transparent, and helpful, valuable to all of you guys. I appreciate you.